Looks like the light of heaven coming through those clouds. Sunday morning, walking by a unit on my way to the stair, and like you can hear the music going and stuff, and I'm like, oh, they're having a party from last night still. Those were the days, man. I used to do that in the city a lot. I'd be like in a rehearsal space, you know, at a friend or a band's friend's place, and there'd always be parties in those rehearsal spaces. And like, you know, we'd be partying all night. Some of us a little harder than others, so we'd wait for the liquor store to open in the morning to keep it rolling. You know, sometimes we'd fucking go right through the next day. Maniacs. So whoever drew short straws or whatever, or would offer, I would offer to go a lot because I just wanted everybody to like me, which is easy to do. You just pay for a lot of shit, and that's it. That's all you gotta do. Pay for stuff, for drugs, alcohol. You can hang around with anyone you want. If you're at a club at closing time and you got a trunk with a case of beer and you have like pills, powders, or smokables, you can write your ticket to wherever you want to go. So yeah, so I would go a lot. I'll go run down to the liquor store and get something, buy a case or 12-pack or something, and you come out in the daylight, and man, you'd feel terrible because you'd been up all night, you know. And people would go, especially on the work days. It's one thing on a Sunday like today, but those work days, man, people all dressed up to do the grind and get back to work, and you're walking around, you know, high as fuck, going to buy alcohol. You know, I bet there's some people from back in those days still living like that now. I don't know. I'm glad I got out of it. But that's neither here nor there nor anywhere. Been staying away from the news for a couple days. Not intentionally. I just been playing a lot of Diablo Immortal. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'll get tired of it. Whenever something new comes out that I'm interested in, I get obsessed with it, and then I burn out on it. I do that with everything. But I noticed staying away from the news, and by news I mean I got my news mostly on the boards, on message boards, Bolivian basket weaving forums, because there are always people talking about what's happening. And people, well, normies would be like, well, that's fake news. It's like, well, what's real news? An official source? Fucking MSNBC? Because last time I checked, these guys tried to gaslight the entire world into thinking they were in a pandemic for 2 years, which they weren't, because it didn't meet any qualifications to be one. A pandemic is beyond an epidemic. It's something that's going crazy, out of control, burning through a population. A pandemic is like Mad Max. There's just bodies burning. You know, there was a great Psychotica album called The Pandemic, it was called. And it was this, it wasn't like a concept album. They were a great band out of New York. They're kind of still around. Pat, the singer, lived here for a while. And I know that, and they put out something recently too. They're good. They were influential. Another one of those bands that influenced a lot of people, but never really got paid, which seems to be the case for most of the stuff I like. But yeah, pandemic was always, it's beyond an epidemic. It's a fucking end of world scenario. You know, it's the final stage. But they had all these insurance programs, and they had all these laws that could be and would be enacted only if we had reached the pandemic state. So it had to qualify as a pandemic. If you have the numbers behind you, it'll qualify. So they had to make sure the numbers match the qualifications that they had for a legal definition of a pandemic. And that's why when you'd hear like, there's 5 billion people in the hospital tonight, and then you drive by the hospital and there's a couple dudes outside smoking and a nurse, oh, you can't go in. No, there's no cars anywhere. My therapist, I talked to him before, he's an older guy, nice guy, but he's just fucking, his brain is done. He's in his 90s, and he's telling me about Honolulu right now. He's like, well, this Omicron, he's a German guy, and I always have to do his voice for some reason when I talk about it. He's like, Omicron has had our hospitals overtaxed. There is no room in the hospital. The ERs are full. Dude, I wouldn't say this to him, but if I walk down the hospital now, there's fucking nobody there. They report these numbers because they have to. I mean, they have to maintain the charade. And most people just hear the numbers on the news. They don't go looking. But at any point in this whole thing that happened over the past couple of years, there's plenty of people going to these hospitals and filming. You weren't allowed in. They chase you off the grounds. How many endless TikTok videos we get of synchronized dancing by nurses and doctors? That was weird enough, but if you think of, or maybe you haven't seen of it, there was a Olympic ceremony in the UK for, was it the 2020 Olympics? No, what am I saying? It was like 2016. The last one they had in Britain, and they had a giant Voldemort there, and the theme was children and nightmares, which was bizarre to begin with. Look, I know there's 100 different things there that's connected to, but one of the main features was kids in these hospital beds that were being tormented by dreams and shadows and a really disturbingly tall Voldemort doll. I don't like tall dolls, man. This thing was the size of a building. Kind of like some of the demons that Roger and KC traces out on these fucking pictures. Anyway, they had, one of the main features was dancing nurses. So these nurses were doing a dance routine throughout the whole thing. You can find this on YouTube. It was opening ceremonies, 2016 Olympics, England. And all these dancing nurses, all dressed like nurses, dancing around the beds with the scared kids that were being tormented. The whole thing's just fucked. It's like, what? You know what I mean? But, you know, most normies are just like, well, that's kind of strange, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, do you want some nachos? You know, that's what's going on in the stadium there. I think that's also the year they caught that lizard guy on film in the crowd, who was looking all panicked, looking around. His thing broke. The thing that they used, the liquid crystal thing they used to keep the hologram over them so they look like humans. His thing broke and he's all freaked out. That made the rounds too for a while. You can probably still find that. He just looks like, you know, those black, he had black skin, like black lizard skin. It was freaky. But anyway, I think that was the same Olympics. Just Google like Olympic lizard man, closed circuit TV, whatever. But yeah, so they had all these the dancing nurses when COVID started, and almost immediately you started getting these TikTok videos of these synchron. It wasn't so much that they were just goofing around, right? That's a weird thing if you look at all these videos. They weren't just goofing around like you do in a ward, which I guess when they have the overflow with dying people, you goof around. I don't know. They were synchronized and like orchestrated dance routines. It's fucking bizarre. But not all that different from what we saw at the Olympic ceremony. the same thing. So, was that done purposely? I don't know, maybe. I think a lot of times it isn't. I think what it is just the system working through people, working through events. And there is a little bit of that predictive programming in there, so that when you do see the dancing nurses during the Cobb situation, it's not as jarring to you, right? Because you've seen it before. Like those Olympic opening ceremonies get heavy viewership. So people watch this, oh, well, whatever, it's weird, forgot about it. So then when the dancing videos started coming out of these hospitals, what it does is, to the normie mind, you're not as outraged. Like, it's not like, why are they doing that? Like, not a lot of people said that. Like, I mean, people like in our community, people like us, of course, said, that's fucked up. Why are they doing that? But if they're supposed to be so packed and so overworked, and I posted a thing on one of my Instagram pages. I've been playing back and forth with them. It's like whack-a-mole with them trying to ban me, but I just jump to another account and just keep going right there. So I'd post something. A couple of things happened recently there, and I posted a meme that had a collection of Twitter posts from all these different nurses, and it was saying it's like a war zone, blah blah blah, but they were all worded the exact same way. It was a template, and there was like 9 of them in a grid. It's still up on one of my there's a link to my Instagram page in the bio here to one of them. I keep jumping around because they ban one or they shadow ban one. I moved to another one. The most recent shadow ban I got, and I got a strike, or whatever the strike equivalent is. They said one more thing and you lose this account. I don't care. I got a ton of them. But I posted a picture of Greta Thunberg with George Soros, and they deleted it, and they said it was hate speech. They have an appeals thing on Instagram now. You can appeal, but it's a separate company, I guess. But you know, I don't know. I haven't tried it. I was interested in trying it. I talked about it before because I'm constantly getting reprimanded on there. But yeah, you can't. We're in that world where you can't tell the truth. We've reached dystopian sci-fi novel level that we didn't think possible before. We're there. We've been there. But yeah, the dancing nurses, it was really, really horrifying. That's nothing though. Every one of those Olympic things like that. But the opening of that tunnel, I forget what it was. A tunnel between, it was in Europe, Switzerland to something. I don't know. When I'm editing this, I'll look at it and post the information to it. That's something you should see. Watch that. And like, I don't know how anyone could find the mental gymnastic routine to explain that tunnel opening. Like, there's, you know, what it shows basically is Satan returning, the population being dumbed down into like automatons, a slave group who just does all this slave work. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, these are rituals basically, part of spells, magic spells, rituals. They have to do this stuff. It's so gay, you know what I mean? It's just so retarded what they do. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll be back later because I'm compelled to remain a thorn in the side of the beast, even in a very small way. Everyone should figure out how they can become a grain of sand in the machine. You can't destroy the machine, but you could slow it down. Eventually, maybe you get enough grains of sand, brings it to a halt. You gotta try, at least. If you're not trying, fuck, that's shameful, you know? If you're cognizant of what's happening, and you're aware of what's going on, you know, anything you can, write a blog. Don't go telling people about it, really, in the street or anything. Keep it online, because, you know, that can cause its own set of problems. And don't use your real name, but get it out there, you know? Make it hard for them to swat you, you know? Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.